What if you could wake up every day with a calm, steady mind, untouched by stress, anger, or fear? What if your emotions didn't yank you around like a puppet, but instead, you felt grounded, in control, centered? Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you trained your mind to stay strong no matter what. Let me ask you something. How many times have you let one little comment ruin your whole day? One offhand remark, a weird look, a delayed text, and suddenly you're spinning, angry, anxious, maybe even shutting down. We like to believe we're in control. But the truth is, most of us are emotional passengers, dragged around by every insult, every delay, every moment of uncertainty. It's not the outside world that's tearing you apart. It's the stories your mind tells in reaction to it. That's what the Stoics figured out over 2,000 years ago. Freedom doesn't come from fixing the world. It comes from mastering the one thing you actually control, yourself. If you're tired of overreacting, if you're drained from feeling hijacked by emotions that never seem to stop, then stay with me. Because what we're about to explore will flip your idea of peace, power, and strength upside down. This isn't about pretending everything's fine. This is about learning to stay unshakable when it's not. Step 1. Audit the source of your emotions. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and then spent hours replaying it in your head? Rethinking every word, every tone, every possible hidden meaning? Your heart starts racing, your jaw clenches, your stomach knots, and before you know it, you're emotionally spiraling. But here's the crazy part. The moment itself is already over. It's not happening anymore. But you are. That's because no one ever taught us this. That storm inside you didn't come from them, it came from you. From your interpretation. From the meaning you gave it. And that's not a weakness. That's just how human minds work. But it is something you can change. The Stoics were the first to say this with brutal clarity. Epictetus put it like this: we are not disturbed by events, but by our opinions about them. The quote, "It's not a riddle, it's a mirror." You're not angry because someone ignored you. You're angry because you interpreted their silence as a judgment of your worth. You're not anxious because your boss sent a vague message. You're anxious because your mind built an entire horror film around it, getting fired, being judged, losing everything. The external event is just a spark. The explosion happens inside. This is why Stoicism starts with awareness. It doesn't tell you to run from emotion. It teaches you to examine it, not to suppress it, not to fake being fine, but to get curious. Because if you never pause and ask, why am I really feeling this way? You'll spend your whole life reacting to shadows. Shadows of the past. Shadows of fear. Shadows of beliefs you never even chose. Maybe your anger isn't about today. Maybe it's something you built years ago to protect yourself when people dismissed or hurt you. Maybe your anxiety isn't about this one event, it's about control. And your nervous system is still bracing for a life that once felt unpredictable. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That hits, doesn't it? Most of us are being driven by beliefs we don't even realize we have. Messages we absorbed when we were too young to question them. Stories we never outgrew. And they're still playing in our minds like background noise we've gotten used to. But when you start pausing, even just for a second, and asking, what belief is driving this reaction? Everything begins to shift. You start unhooking from the emotion. You stop being owned by it. You start owning it. That's the first taste of real freedom. Not making the world less stressful, but training yourself to stop interpreting everything as a threat. Marcus Aurelius wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. He wasn't saying, ignore reality. He was saying, your interpretation is your power. And once you understand that, truly understand it, you stop playing emotional defense. You stop being a puppet of every insult, every delay, every disappointment. You start stepping into your authority. Think of emotions like alarms. They go off when something feels off. But like any alarm, sometimes they're spot on, and sometimes they're just malfunctioning. And if you don't check the wiring, you'll spend your life running around putting out false fires. That's exhausting. That's burnout. But when you pause and ask, is this emotion really about what just happened, or is it about something deeper? You start breaking the cycle. Maybe you're reacting to someone's tone because it reminds you of a parent or teacher who made you feel small. Maybe you're shutting down in relationships, not because people are untrustworthy, but because you haven't rebuilt trust in yourself yet. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He was right. Your imagination is powerful. And if you don't learn how to direct it, it will direct you. It will trick you into fear when nothing's threatening you. It will make you panic over ghosts. But when you learn to pause, to ask questions, to pull the emotion into the light instead of reacting in the dark, that's when your mind becomes your ally instead of your enemy. And that, my friend, is just the beginning. When you build this awareness muscle, you stop trying to fix everything around you and start building peace within you. You don't need the world to behave to stay calm. You don't need everyone to like you to feel worthy. You just need the courage to stop, look inward and ask, what's really going on here? That's the foundation of emotional strength. That's the first principle of the Stoic path. Let's face it, life rarely goes according to plan. You set your alarm early to get a jump start on the day, and your phone dies overnight. You walk into a meeting expecting praise, but instead you get silence or even criticism. You're feeling good, finally catching a break. Then out of nowhere, a phone call or email knocks the wind right out of you. And when that happens, most people fall apart. Not because life is especially cruel, but because they never trained for the storm. They never practiced what to do when things go wrong. The Stoics? They did the exact opposite. They trained for hardship. And not in some dark, pessimistic, gloom and doom kind of way. No, Stoicism isn't about bracing for disaster like a doomsday prepper. It's about preparing the mind. It's about building a kind of inner strength so that when the unexpected hits, and it always does, you're ready. This is where the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum comes in. It means the premeditation of evils. But don't let the dramatic name throw you off. This isn't about obsessing over worst-case scenarios. It's about building resilience. It's about mental weightlifting. Think of it like going to the mental gym. When you go to the gym, you're not hoping someone throws a barbell at your face. You're not praying for injury. You train with resistance so that your body is strong when real life demands it. Premeditatio malorum is the same thing, but for your mind. It's emotional strength training. It's rehearsing the hard stuff, not to scare yourself, but so that when it shows up, you're not rattled. You're ready. You don't panic. You breathe. You don't spiral. You respond. You don't shatter. You stand. Here's how it works. Before your day begins, before the chaos starts, take a few quiet moments and ask yourself, what could go wrong today? Not in a paranoid, anxious way. In a strategic, grounded way. Picture someone insulting you. Picture a plan falling through. Imagine traffic messing with your schedule or a friend forgetting to follow through. Now here's the twist. Imagine how you'll respond. Picture yourself calm, breathing, choosing peace instead of panic. That's the power of this practice. You're not feeding fear. You're building calm. You're setting emotional expectations. So if those things happen, you've already been there in your mind. You've already trained for that moment. And that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's it right there. We live in a world obsessed with control. Control your schedule. Control your body. Control your followers. Control your future. But the truth? Most of life is outside your control. You can't control the weather. You can't control someone else's attitude. You can't control if your boss had a bad morning or whether your flight gets delayed. But you can control your response. You can train your mind to meet whatever comes with presence, poise, and power. The power of expectation. See, most people break not because life is unfair, but because they thought it wouldn't be. They thought everything would go smoothly. And when it doesn't, they collapse. But if you expect adversity, not in a negative way, but in a realistic one, you stop being surprised. You stop being reactive. You move with intention instead of emotion. Carl Jung said, "The world will ask you who you are. And if you do not know, the world will tell you." And that's what happens when you're untrained. Chaos tells you who you are. You default to panic, anger, self-pity. But when you've prepared your mind, even just a little, you remember who you are even when the storm hits. You're not just reacting. You're responding from character. That's the core of this Stoic exercise. Let's get practical. You don't need candles or a 5-hour journaling ritual. You don't need incense or a mountaintop retreat. You need 3 minutes in your brain. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you dive into notifications, pause. Ask yourself, what might not go my way today? If that happens, I will remain calm. I will respond with reason. I will not let it steal my peace. Do this every morning, and watch how different your days become. You'll move through life with more clarity, less surprise, less emotional whiplash. You'll return to center faster. You'll bounce back stronger. You'll build a habit of steadiness that feels unshakable because it was trained, not wished for. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. Seneca. That's what this practice does. It takes the sting out of the unexpected by expecting it. Think of a firefighter. They don't hope for fire, but they train like it's coming. They run drills. They rehearse. That way, when the alarm rings, they don't freeze. They act. That's what you're doing with premeditatio malorum. You're rehearsing your peace. So when the world burns, you breathe. Bonus. This practice builds gratitude too. There's another layer to this that most people don't see. When you picture loss, when you imagine things falling apart, it makes you appreciate what you still have. When your day goes well after you've mentally prepared for the worst, it feels like a gift. Your coffee tastes better. That text from a friend hits deeper. The quiet becomes sacred. The Stoics weren't just teaching toughness. They were teaching presence. They were reminding us that nothing is promised, and that's exactly why we should treasure every ordinary moment. Not fear loss, but use it as a reminder to love deeper. Start small, but start now. This isn't a one-time mindset hack. It's a daily discipline. One breath, one moment, one imagined setback met with calm intention. And if you do it enough, your brain rewires. You become the kind of person people look to when things go wrong, because your calm steadies the room. That's the gift of Stoicism. It doesn't just make you suffer less. It makes you lead better, love deeper, think clearer, respond wiser, because you didn't wait for life to test you. You trained for it. You know that moment when everything shifts? Your heart starts pounding. Your breath shortens. Your stomach twists into knots. Maybe someone disrespected you. Maybe your plans suddenly collapsed. Or maybe a wave of anxiety just crashes into you out of nowhere. And your first instinct? React. Snap. Withdraw. Numb out. Blame someone. Scroll endlessly. Anything to not feel that discomfort. But what if, instead of reacting, you did something radically simple? What if you just said to yourself, "This is anger," or "This is fear," or even, "This is shame"? It sounds small, right? Almost too easy? But this one habit, naming what you're feeling, is one of the most powerful tools you can develop. For your mental health, for your relationships, for your peace. Because the moment you name it, something shifts. You're no longer inside the storm. You're observing it. And from that space, you get your power back. The Stoics knew this long before psychology caught up. They didn't have brain scans, but they had insight. They understood emotions not as random forces of nature, but as judgments, mental stories we attach to events, a thought, a belief, a conclusion wrapped in a physical feeling. So when you say, "This is frustration," you're not pretending it's not there. You're pulling it out of the shadows and into the light. And in the light, emotion starts to lose its grip. Because emotions thrive in darkness, in confusion, in silence. But when you bring awareness, when you label the feeling, it stops running the show. Modern psychology has a name for this. Name it to tame it. Neuroscientists like Dr. Dan Siegel have proven this over and over. When you name an emotion, you activate the rational part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and reduce the chaos in the emotional part, your amygdala. In simple terms, you stop being the emotion. You start managing it. Here's what this looks like in real life. Let's say you're walking into work and someone brushes past you without saying hello. Something in you tenses up. Your thoughts spiral. Are they mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Are they ignoring me on purpose? Your brain builds a whole narrative. But what if, instead of reacting, you pause and say, "This is insecurity. This is confusion." Instant clarity. You've identified the emotion, not just the trigger. And that's huge, because once you can name it, you can work with it. Most of us are walking around mislabeling our feelings. You think you're just in a bad mood? Maybe you're hurt. You think you're annoyed? Maybe you're actually afraid. You think you're fine? Maybe you're burying grief. But if you don't pause to identify what's really there, the emotion doesn't go away. It just steers your behavior behind the scenes. And suddenly, you're snapping at your partner, shutting down in meetings, avoiding phone calls, all because of a feeling you never named. It's like trying to fix a leaking pipe without knowing where the leak is. So start here. Build awareness one moment at a time. The next time your chest tightens or your tone sharpens or your hands clench, don't act right away. Don't text. Don't talk. Don't scroll. Just take one deep breath and say to yourself, "This is disappointment," or "This is jealousy," or "This is shame." Say it out loud if you can. Whisper it if you need to. Think it if you must. The point is, notice it. You're not broken for feeling it. You're human. Because here's the truth. Emotions aren't enemies. They're messengers. Anger might be telling you a boundary's been crossed. Fear might be warning you that something feels unsafe. Shame might be nudging you to realign with your values. But if you don't name the feeling, you'll miss the message. You'll just feel bad and act out. This changes everything in relationships. Think of the last time you fought with someone. Maybe the fight wasn't really about the dishes or the text message or the tone of voice. Maybe underneath all that was this: "I feel unappreciated. I feel small. I feel scared." But because no one said that, because no one named it, you both spiraled. Now imagine saying instead, "I'm feeling insecure right now." Or, "That made me feel dismissed." Not dramatic, not defensive, just honest. That kind of clarity softens people. It opens doors. It builds trust. It turns conflict into connection. Yeah, it feels awkward at first. So what? We're not used to doing this. Most of us were taught to tough it out, brush it off, man up, or stop being sensitive. But that's not toughness. Real toughness is having the courage to slow down and face what's real. Because when you can name your emotion, you stop drowning in it. You rise above it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That quote isn't just poetic, it's a dare. It's daring you to take back the reins. So build the habit. Make this part of your day. When you wake up feeling off, ask, "What's the emotion under this?" When you feel tension in a conversation, ask, "What's really going on here?" When you feel the urge to lash out, ask, "What am I actually feeling right now?" Even if you name it wrong the first few times, it's okay. The act of noticing is already a win. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. Because once you can name the storm, you can navigate it. And when you can navigate it, you no longer fear your own inner world. You start living with clarity instead of confusion. You start acting with intention instead of reacting on impulse. One final reminder, you don't have to fix it right away. You don't need a solution for every emotion. Sometimes the power is just in noticing, just in naming. Because once you do, the feeling doesn't control you anymore. You're not driven by it. You're working with it. And that's where self-mastery begins, not in denial, but in understanding. So the next time that wave hits, stop. Don't fight it. Don't run from it. Just look at it. Name it. And you'll see you're stronger than it ever was. Let's talk about something most people run from. Discomfort. Not the kind that comes from tragedy or heartbreak, but the small, everyday kind that we avoid like the plague. Cold showers, early mornings, awkward conversations, delayed gratification, silence. We live in a world designed to keep us comfortable 24/7. Hot food delivered to your door in minutes. Content on demand. Endless scroll. Climate control. And a phone that distracts you before you even realize you're uncomfortable. And sure, that kind of convenience feels good. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Too much comfort makes you fragile. The more you avoid discomfort, the less you can handle it. And the less you can handle it, the more life starts to feel overwhelming. The Stoics knew this long before psychology confirmed it. That's why they practiced something called voluntary discomfort. They chose to go without, on purpose. Marcus Aurelius didn't live a soft life. He was emperor during plagues, war, and political betrayal. But instead of clinging to luxury, he practiced detachment. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, spent days living as a poor man, just to remind himself that he could endure it. But because they understood something powerful. If you train for discomfort, you won't be broken by it. Let's clear this up. Voluntary discomfort isn't about punishment. It's not about becoming a monk or suffering just to suffer. It's about proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can sit in silence instead of reaching for distraction, that you can delay gratification instead of chasing every impulse, that you don't need comfort to feel okay. You just need strength. And strength, real inner strength, only shows up when things get uncomfortable. Every time you avoid discomfort, you reinforce fragility. You get annoyed when your coffee isn't perfect. You panic when your phone dies. You snap because your plans change. But the truth is, you're not reacting to those things. You're reacting to the discomfort underneath them. Your nervous system hasn't trained for stress. You've built your emotional tolerance around ease. So when life stops being easy, you crumble. But there's a different way. And it starts with one simple question. What's one small discomfort I can choose today? It could be anything. Take a cold shower. Skip your morning sugar. Leave your phone in another room for an hour. Say the hard thing in a conversation. Wake up 30 minutes earlier and sit in silence. Walk instead of drive. Fast for a meal. It doesn't have to be extreme. It just has to be intentional. You're not doing it to prove anything to the world. You're doing it to prove something to yourself. You're saying, I'm not a slave to comfort. I can face discomfort and still be okay. That shift? That's the beginning of real power. Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And it's true, isn't it? We scroll, we snack, we binge, we avoid. All to escape the discomfort of sitting with our thoughts, our memories, our truths. But when you choose discomfort intentionally, something happens. You stop running. You stop avoiding. You start growing. Because discomfort is the gym for your mind. And you can't grow stronger without resistance. The real benefit? It's not just strength, it's gratitude. When you go without, even for a little while, you appreciate the ordinary so much more. A warm shower feels like a luxury. A quiet cup of coffee becomes sacred. A working phone feels like a miracle. Voluntary discomfort doesn't make you bitter. It makes you present. It reminds you that life isn't guaranteed, and that comfort is a gift, not a given. It makes you grateful for what's already here, right now. And gratitude, as the Stoics knew, is the foundation of joy. The obstacle is the way, Marcus Aurelius. One of the most quoted Stoic lines of all time. The obstacle is the way. Not something to avoid. Not something to fear. But something to use. What stands in the way of your comfort? Your growth? Your calm? That's where you should go. Because the thing you're avoiding? That's the exact thing that can build you. And when you learn to move toward it instead of away from it, you stop needing life to be perfect in order to feel peace. You stop saying, I'll be okay when, and you start living like, I'm okay, even now. So ask yourself, what can you do today that's slightly uncomfortable? Not to prove you're tough, not to show off, but to train your nervous system, to rewire your tolerance, to build a mental library of moments where you chose the hard thing and survived. Because here's the truth, life will hand you discomfort eventually. A breakup, a job loss, a diagnosis, a rejection. You won't get to choose it, but you can be ready for it. And that readiness doesn't come from wishing. It comes from training. One cold shower at a time. One skipped dessert. One difficult choice leaned into instead of avoided. That's how warriors are made. That's how inner peace is earned. Not by running from life, but by walking straight into it with open eyes and a steady heart. Have you ever found yourself completely consumed by something small? Maybe someone didn't text you back fast enough. Or they gave you a weird look. Or your coworker made a passive-aggressive comment. And suddenly, it's all you can think about. Your mind replays it on a loop. You start writing entire stories in your head. You feel offended, angry, unseen, alone. But here's the thing. The problem isn't always the problem. Sometimes, the real issue is that you're zoomed in too close. So close that this one tiny moment feels like your whole world. And that's why the Stoics taught a practice called the view from above. A mental habit that pulls you out of the spiral and drops you back into reality. Because when you zoom out, everything changes. Let's try it right now. Close your eyes for a second. Picture yourself sitting wherever you are right now. Now zoom out. Float above your room. Above your home. Now above your city. Your country. Keep going until you're in space, looking down at this fragile, blue planet spinning in silence. And then think about this. In this vast, infinite universe, does this moment define your life? Will this irritation still matter a week from now? A year from now? When you're old and looking back, will this be the moment that shaped you? Probably not. And yet, when we're zoomed in, it feels like everything. But when we zoom out, we remember we're just passing through. And this moment is just a moment. Marcus Aurelius practiced this all the time. As Emperor of Rome, he had more on his shoulders than most of us will ever imagine. Plague, betrayal, pressure. And yet, he wrote in his meditations about seeing the earth from above. about viewing people as dots moving through space, about pulling back to see the bigger picture. He wasn't trying to feel small, he was trying to feel free. Because when you zoom out, you stop being owned by the moment. You stop being imprisoned by emotion. You start seeing clearly again. Your brain loves to zoom in on drama. That's how we're wired. It's a survival instinct. Magnify the threat, focus on the danger, react quickly. But we don't live in a jungle anymore. We live in traffic, in offices, in group chats, in online comments. And if you let that instinct run wild, your brain will turn every small moment into a 5-alarm fire. That text left unread? Suddenly it's a rejection. That delay in plans? Suddenly it's personal. That one awkward silence? Suddenly it's proof you don't belong. But when you zoom out, you interrupt the drama. You shift from, "this is everything," to, "this is just one thing." Here's a simple truth that saves you. Most things won't matter as much as you think they will. Not because they're meaningless, but because life is bigger than this. Zooming out doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop spiraling. It means you stop giving away your peace to things that don't deserve it. It gives you space to breathe, to think, to choose. And that space? That's emotional power. Think about a time you were devastated over something that now feels small. We've all had moments like that. The breakup that shattered you. The job you didn't get. The friend who ghosted you. At the time, it felt like the end of the world. But it's a memory. You moved on. You grew. You're still here. That's the proof. You've already survived more than you give yourself credit for. So what if you zoomed out a little faster next time? What if you stopped letting every minor setback hijack your entire nervous system? What if you could feel the feeling, then put it in its proper place? That's what the view from above teaches you. It's not about avoiding reality. It's about seeing it clearly. Some people confuse stoicism with detachment, as if zooming out means you don't care. But that's not what this is. This isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's saying, I see the emotion. I feel it, but I know it's not the full picture. You're not ignoring the problem. You're putting it in perspective. And that perspective lets you respond wisely instead of reacting wildly. It also works for gratitude. Zooming out isn't just for the hard moments. It makes the good ones richer too. When you pull back and remember how fragile life is, how rare it is to even be alive, you start to feel grateful for the tiniest things. A meal shared with someone you love. The warmth of sunlight on your face. The sound of someone laughing in another room. You realize how many beautiful things you pass by every day because you were zoomed in on stress. Zooming out makes you present. It brings you back to what actually matters. Here's how to practice this daily. You don't need a meditation retreat. You need 3 minutes. The next time something small starts to ruin your mood, pause. Mentally step outside your body. See yourself from above. See the room. See your whole city. Your continent. Your planet. Then will this matter when I'm 80? Will this be important next week? Is this worth losing my peace over? Almost always, the answer is no. And even when the answer is yes, you'll be better equipped to handle it because your emotions aren't in control anymore. You are. Final thought. You're not just a dot in the universe. You're a conscious dot. You're not powerless. You're not meaningless. You're someone who can hold their emotions without being swallowed by them. You can feel deeply and still act wisely. That's what Stoicism is really about. It's not a rejection of feeling. It's the elevation of reason. It's the choice to see clearly, to live intentionally, to breathe deeper when the world feels too close. Because the world will try to shrink you. But you can always zoom out. You ever find yourself lying awake at 2 a.m., your thoughts spiraling? Maybe you're replaying a conversation, or imagining worst-case scenarios, or caught in that anxious loop where every feeling leads to another thought, and every thought triggers another wave of emotion. It's exhausting, but here's the truth. Most of the time, the emotion itself isn't what drains us. It's our refusal to question it. And there's one question that can change everything. Is this emotion helping me right now? Not, is it valid? Not, should I feel this way? Just, is this helping me? It sounds simple, but in the heat of emotion, that one question can pull you back from the edge. It can remind you, you're allowed to feel, yes, but you also get to decide which feelings deserve your attention. Let's break this down. You're angry, but because someone disrespected you, or interrupted you, or didn't acknowledge your effort, that anger feels justified. It feels righteous. But pause and ask, is this helping me solve the problem? If it's not, then you've already started reclaiming your power just by noticing. Because once you see that an emotion is burning energy without offering clarity or solutions, you can let it go. That's not suppression. That's mastery. Not every emotion deserves to drive the car. Think of emotions like passengers in your car. Some of them can sit in the front. Some can sit quietly in the back. But none of them, none, get to grab the wheel without your permission. When you ask, is this helping? You're putting your hand back on the wheel. You're saying, thanks for showing up, fear. I see you, but I've got this. That's what Stoicism teaches. You are not your feelings. You're the one who chooses how to act in response to them. Let's talk about anxiety. It's one of the most common emotions people deal with. You feel anxious before a meeting, before sending a message, before making a decision. Now, sometimes anxiety is useful. It's alerting you to prepare. It's helping you anticipate risk. But sometimes it's just static. It's noise. It's predicting things that haven't happened and probably never will. So ask it, are you helping me move forward, or are you just keeping me stuck? If it's the latter, breathe it out, thank it, and move on. You don't have to obey every emotion that shows up. You don't owe them that much. Same goes for shame. Shame is tricky. It feels heavy, sticky, silent. It says, you're not enough. You messed everything up. People are going to find out. And the temptation? To hide. To shut down. But again, ask it, are you helping me make a change? Or are you just burying me deeper? Shame can be a messenger. But if it's not pointing you toward virtue or healing, it's not your teacher. It's just emotional noise. And emotional noise deserves boundaries. Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And isn't that the truth? You can lose hours, even days, caught up in emotions that are just mental projections. You think they're helping, but they're just dragging you through loops. The solution isn't to feel nothing. It's to feel on purpose. It's to ask again and again, is this helping? That question is your anchor. That question is your emotional filter. Let's get practical. Next time you feel overwhelmed, whether it's anger, sadness, fear, jealousy, pause. Name the emotion, and then ask, is this helping me right now? If yes, great, let it guide you. If no, release it. That might look like going for a walk, breathing, saying nothing, writing it down, calling a friend, turning your phone off. Whatever helps you come back to center, because that is what you're really trying to protect, not your pride, not your ego, your peace. Don't confuse justification with utility. This is big. Yes, your emotion might feel completely justified. You were disrespected. You were hurt. You were let down. But justified doesn't mean useful. You can be 100% right and still be carrying an emotion that's poisoning your peace. You can win the argument and still lose yourself. So stop asking, do I have a right to feel this? Start asking, do I want to live with this? Because emotional freedom isn't about being right. It's about being free. Carl Jung said, people don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That's what this question does. It makes the unconscious conscious. It shines light on the feeling. And when you shine light on it, you can work with it. You can redirect it. You can use it. Or you can let it go. But either way, you're in control. You're the one choosing. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not numbing out, but stepping in. Being present. Being aware. Being intentional. Final thought. Your mind is your home. You decide who lives there. Not every emotion deserves a key. Some are visitors. Some are thieves. Some are there to teach. Some are there to trap. But you're the gatekeeper. And this question, is this helping me? Is how you guard the door. Use it often. Use it gently. Use it with strength. Because your peace matters more than your pride. More than your impulse. More than your temporary discomfort. And every time you ask this question, you strengthen the part of you that chooses clarity over chaos. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's emotional adulthood. Here's a question no one asks enough. What kind of person am I becoming by the way I act today? Because whether you realize it or not, every decision you make, even the tiny ones, is casting a vote for the type of person you're becoming. Every time you stay calm in chaos, every time you tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable, every time you follow through on your word, you're saying, this is who I am. And over time, that identity sticks. But the opposite is true too. Every time you break your promise, even just to yourself, every time you lash out instead of breathe, every time you avoid instead of face, you reinforce a version of you that you don't want to be. And that's the danger. Most people drift into their identity without realizing it. But the Stoics? They did it on purpose. They chose who they wanted to become. Then they acted like it every single day. It starts with one principle. Behavior shapes belief. Modern psychology backs this up too. We don't just act based on who we are. We become who we are based on how we act. That means you don't have to wait until you feel courageous to act brave. You don't have to wait until you feel disciplined to do the hard thing. You act first. And then the feeling, eventually, catches up. That's the Stoic way. Lead with action. Let your feelings follow. Epictetus said it best. First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. That's the blueprint. Not, I'll act differently when I feel ready. But, I'll act like the kind of person I respect, right now. Even if it feels fake at first. Even if it's hard. Because identity isn't found. It's forged. And the forge is your daily actions. So ask yourself, who do I want to be? Seriously, pause and answer it. Do you want to be steady? Generous? Disciplined? Focused? Then act like it, even in tiny ways. Do you want to be kind under pressure? Then practice kindness in traffic. With a customer service rep. With your family when you're tired. Do you want to be clear-minded? Then put down the phone. Sit in silence. Choose books over noise. Do you want to be someone others trust? Then do what you say you'll do. Show up. Tell the truth. None of this is glamorous. But all of it is identity. Here's a little trick. Use the question, what would future me do? Think of the future version of you. The one who's already steady, already focused, already strong. What would they do right now? Would they procrastinate? Would they rage text someone? Would they scroll for an hour instead of facing the task? Probably not. So borrow their behavior, even if you're not there yet. Because by doing what they do, you become them. That's the cheat code. You don't wait to become someone new. You act like that person and let the identity catch up. This is also how you build confidence. Confidence doesn't come from compliments. It comes from integrity. It comes from knowing, I do what I say I'll do. It comes from showing up for yourself when no one's watching. When you make a promise to yourself and keep it, you start trusting your own voice again. And that trust? That's the foundation of unshakable self-worth. Because you're not performing anymore. You're becoming. Let's talk about the moments that don't feel big, but actually are. Choosing to get up on time. Sending that difficult message with kindness. Finishing the task when you'd rather scroll. Leaving a place that doesn't align with your values. These are the moments that shape your identity. Not the big speeches. Not the highlight reels. but the daily, invisible, repeated choices that no one sees but you. That's where your character is built. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That quote doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't ask whether you're ready. It invites you to act. Right here, right now. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Even if you slip up tomorrow or next week, that's okay. Because the identity you're building isn't made from one perfect day. It's made from returning to the same intention again and again. Like returning to the gym, or the mat, or the practice. Here's a powerful exercise you can try. Every morning, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Then write down 3 actions that version of you would take. Not big, flashy goals. Simple, repeatable actions. Maybe it's drink water before coffee. Speak calmly when frustrated. End the day without your phone. Then do them. And at night, check in. Did I live in alignment with who I want to be? If yes, great. If not, adjust tomorrow. No guilt. Just clarity. Just forward movement. One final thought. Identity is built in the dark. You won't get applause for these choices. No one's going to pat you on the back for going to bed early. No one will cheer you on for keeping your cool during a tense moment. But you'll know. You'll feel it. And that quiet knowing, that's everything. Because when the world shakes, you'll be standing on something real. A self that you built, one choice at a time. Not a personality. Not a mask. Not an act. But a solid, clear, grounded you. That's the Stoic way. Let's be honest. We all want to be liked. We want the thumbs up. The nods. The "you're doing great" messages. The silent approval from people who barely know us. And sometimes, we want it so badly that we shape our entire lives around it. We say yes when we mean no. We stay quiet when something should be said. We perform. We shrink. We wear masks. Also, we can stay in good favor. But here's the truth no one tells you. Approval is addictive, and it's never enough. Because the more you seek it, the more you need it. And the more you need it, the more you hand over your peace, your decisions, your identity. That's why the Stoics were ruthless about this. Don't build your life on other people's applause. Because applause fades. But integrity? That lasts. Let's go to Marcus Aurelius again. He wrote, "I have to go to meet death. If I am to meet it now, I'll meet it now. Later, then later. What matters is acting with justice and truth, right now." Translation? He wasn't worried about what people thought. He was focused on doing what was right. Because he knew, pleasing everyone is a fool's game. Do the math. If 10 people like you, 2 still won't. If 100 like you, 20 still won't. If 1,000 like you, 200 will think you're fake, annoying, arrogant, too loud, too quiet. You can't win that game. So stop trying. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it's right, or because I want to be liked? That question will slap the truth right into your face. And if you're brave enough to answer it honestly, you'll notice something. A lot of your stress comes from performing. Not working. Not serving. Not loving. But performing for someone else's reaction. And that performance is exhausting. You never quite relax. You never feel whole. You're always editing yourself, trimming the edges, sanding yourself down to fit someone else's expectations. But you weren't born to be approved of. You were born to be whole. Here's the shift. Start respecting yourself more than you want to be liked. It's not about being rude. It's about being real. It's about making peace with the fact that not everyone will like you, and that's okay. Because what's the point of being liked for who you're not? Wouldn't you rather be disliked for being real than loved for being fake? That's what inner freedom feels like. It's quiet. It's strong. It's not loud or flashy. It just knows what matters. And it doesn't flinch when someone disagrees. The Stoics called this living according to nature, which means living in alignment with who you are, what you value, and what your reason tells you is right. Not what's trending. Not what earns you likes. Not what keeps the peace temporarily. but what keeps your soul intact. And sometimes, that means saying something unpopular. Sometimes, it means disappointing people. Sometimes, it means being misunderstood. But if you can walk away knowing you acted with integrity, that's peace. That's strength. That's stoic. But what if you're scared people will leave? Here's a hard truth. If someone walks away because you stopped pretending, you didn't lose them. You revealed them. And if someone respects you less for setting a boundary or being honest, that's not your person. That's your lesson. Let them go. Because the right people don't love the mask. They love the messy, honest, evolving you. The one who shows up with truth in their hands and peace in their eyes. That's the kind of person worth being and worth keeping. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And you can't do that if you're constantly performing. You can't grow into your full self if you're always twisting to fit the mold. So start with this. Stop explaining yourself so much. Stop apologizing for your boundaries. Stop chasing the reaction. And start asking, what feels true to me? Then do that. Even if it's scary. Especially if it's scary. Because freedom is always on the other side of approval. Here's a practice that builds strength over time. Each time you catch yourself doing something just for approval, pause. Take a breath. Then say to yourself, I don't need everyone to like me. I need to like me. Say it again. Out loud if you have to. Let it sink in. Because when you start living for respect, not attention, everything changes. Your conversations get deeper. Your decisions get clearer. Your energy returns. You no longer need validation to feel real. You are real. And that's enough. Final thought, you're not for everyone, and that's your superpower. Think of your favorite people. They're not universally loved. They have critics. They have doubters. They've been disliked. But they kept showing up with truth. They kept being real. And that's why you respect them. So why not offer yourself the same? You don't need to be everyone's cup of tea. You just need to be your own solid foundation. Approval is nice, but integrity is better. And when you choose that over and over, you build something no one can take from you. A life that feels like yours. Here's something we don't talk about enough. Letting go isn't giving up. In fact, in a world addicted to control, letting go might be the most powerful thing you ever do. We're taught to grip tightly onto people, plans, opinions, outcomes. We micromanage our futures. We obsess over what others think. We replay the past like a broken movie reel. All because we think, if I let go, I'll lose control. But here's the twist. You never had control to begin with. What you had was the illusion of control. And the tighter you grip that illusion, the more anxious, reactive, and exhausted you become. That's why the Stoics taught the art of surrender, not to make you passive, but to set you free. Let's start with this. What's truly in your control? Epictetus broke it down beautifully. Some things are in our control and others not. Simple, direct, transformational. What's in your control? Your thoughts, your actions, your choices, your values. What's not? Other people's behavior, the outcome of your efforts, the past, random events and external forces. And yet, where do most people spend their energy? On the second list. They try to fix people, change the past, predict the future, force an outcome. It never works, because it was never yours to control. Letting go isn't apathy. It's wisdom. It's saying, I'll do everything I can and release what I can't. It's showing up with effort, but not ego. It's taking responsibility without carrying the whole world. It's understanding that peace comes not from bending the world to your will, but from aligning your will with what the world is. That doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to reality. And once you do that, you stop swimming against the current. You stop getting dragged by every wave. You float. You breathe. Here's a truth that feels like a gut punch, but sets you free. Some people won't understand you. Some things won't work out. Some plans will fall apart. Some dreams will die. Some endings will come before you're ready. And it's not because you failed. It's because life moves with its own rhythm. And your job isn't to control the rhythm. Your job is to dance with it, to adapt, to pivot, to release, to say, this didn't go the way I planned, but maybe it's going the way I need. That mindset? That's resilience. Marcus Aurelius faced death, betrayal, war, and still found peace. Because he practiced detachment. He understood, this too shall pass. Pleasure passes. Pain passes. Praise passes. Blame passes. So why cling so tightly? Why fight the flow? He wrote, receive without pride, let go without attachment. That's not coldness. That's courage. To show up fully, without needing to control the outcome. To give your all, without demanding a reward. That's Stoic love. Stoic leadership. Stoic strength. Let's talk about control in relationships. This is where letting go feels the hardest. You care about someone. You want them to change. To see you. To stay. To grow. But the more you try to force it, the more it slips away. Because love that has to be controlled was never love. It was fear. And when you let go, not of love, but of attachment, you create space. Space for the other person to choose. Space for you to breathe again. Space for the relationship to be real, not managed. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you respect yourself and them enough to stop gripping. Here's a daily practice for surrender. Every morning, write down 2 columns. Control, not control. In the first column, put what you can influence today. In the second, everything that's outside your hands. Then focus on column 1. Take action. Do your best. Show up with love, clarity, and strength. And when the stuff in column 2 comes knocking, acknowledge it, breathe, and let it pass like clouds in the sky. You don't need to hold it all. You just need to hold what's yours. Carl Jung said, what you resist persists. That's the irony. The more you fight reality, the more power it has over you. But when you stop resisting, when you accept what is, you stop feeding the storm. You create space for something new. Insight, perspective, and maybe even peace. Final thought. Letting go isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the beginning of self-trust, of grounded action, of inner stillness. It's when you stop measuring your worth by what happens outside of you and start rooting it in what's unshakable within you. It's saying, I am not this outcome. I am not this failure. I am not this moment. I am the one watching this moment. I am the one choosing how to respond. That's power. That's freedom. That's the kind of peace no one can take from you, because you didn't get it by control. You got it by letting go. If there's one thing all the Stoics aimed for, it wasn't fame. It wasn't success. It wasn't even happiness. It was stillness. That inner calm that doesn't flinch when the world gets loud. That quiet steadiness that stays grounded no matter who praises you or betrays you. That state where your mind isn't constantly racing, spinning, clinging, fearing. It's just clear. Stillness is not passive. It's powerful. It's not laziness. It's clarity. And in a world that worships motion, speed, noise, and drama, stillness is rebellion. So what is stillness, really? Stillness isn't the absence of activity. It's the absence of chaos inside the activity. You can be busy and still be calm. You can be under pressure and still be composed. You can be surrounded by noise and still hear your own voice. Stillness is not about escaping life. It's about being fully present in life without being controlled by it. And the Stoics knew, if you don't learn to calm your mind, the world will do it for you, through burnout, breakdown, or regret. Marcus Aurelius wrote more than 1,000 entries to himself. Why? Because even as the emperor of Rome, with all the power in the world, he still had to fight for his inner peace. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He wasn't escaping the world. He was building armor for his mind. That's what stillness is. It's mental armor. It doesn't mean life stops being hard. It means life stops being able to shake you so easily. But we've been conditioned to chase everything except peace. We chase attention. We chase stimulation. We chase validation, productivity, novelty. But how often do we chase stillness? Ask yourself, when was the last time I sat in silence without grabbing my phone? When was the last time I took a walk just to breathe, not to perform? When was the last time I allowed myself to feel bored, instead of numbing? We've been trained to fear stillness, as if it means we're falling behind. But stillness isn't where you fall behind. It's where you catch up to yourself. Stillness is where you hear the truth. It's where your real voice lives. It's where your values rise to the surface. It's where you stop being pushed around by every opinion, trend, or impulse, and start acting from center. That's what the Stoics practiced. Not detachment from life, but detachment from noise. They didn't seek stillness to escape the world. They sought stillness to lead it better. So how do you cultivate stillness in a noisy world? You start small. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Sit in silence. Breathe. Put your phone in another room while you eat. Take one walk a day with no music. Just nature. Say no to one thing that drains you, and yes to one thing that fills you. You protect your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. It's your fuel. Your compass. Your anchor. Without it, you react to everything. With it, you respond to anything. This isn't about becoming a monk. It's about becoming a master of your mind. You can live in a city, be a parent, run a business, chase goals. Stillness doesn't mean you stop doing. It means you stop doing mindlessly. It means you bring attention to your actions, clarity to your choices, breath to your day. That's not soft. That's strength. That's rare. Stillness isn't something you find. It's something you practice. It won't come naturally at first. You'll get bored. You'll reach for distractions. Your mind will rebel. But stay with it. Because the more you sit in silence, the more you remember who you are. Not the persona. Not the job title. Not the follower count. But the one beneath all of that. The observer. The presence. The quiet witness. That's the real you. And they're always waiting for you, just behind the noise. Final thought. The strongest person in the room is usually the quietest one. They're not chasing applause. They're not trying to win the moment. They're not moved by every wave. They are the mountain in the storm. Grounded. That's who you're becoming. Not through perfection, but through practice. One choice at a time. One breath at a time. One quiet return to center, again and again. Until stillness is not something you do. It's who you are. And when you get there, you won't need to announce it. The world will feel it.